and we're about to commence our discussion segment. I have with me in the studio Dr. Tinubu, historian and musician. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us for
Firecrackers. It's a pleasure.
Okay, all right. We also have Comrade Razak Ulukoba, who is joining us live from Lagos. He is the National President Campaign for Dignity in Governance. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us today on Firecrackers. Okay, all right. We also have Ebilade. Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Ebilade Kerefe, the former IORTC national spokesman, joining us live from Bayelsa. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us too. All right, now moving on with the topic we have at hand, I feel like this is very necessary to discuss Tinubu's national message to Nigerians this morning, and he is calling for the end to the protest. So I'm going to be starting with my guest here in the studio. The protest started on 1st of August, and I think that a lot of people were anticipating a response from the president. So since we are having a reaction from the president from the fourth day of the protest, do you think that this means that the protest is already achieving its aim?
Oh no. The ultimate thing or the mandate of the protest started with the idea of the mantra of end bad governance, and that is yet to be achieved. And what really do we mean by end bad governance? We mean that bad policies that have kept our people in perpetual state of penury, in a state of poverty. These policies have got to be scrapped. And these demands are yet to be met. So clearly the protest in any way isn't going to be suspended, or we aren't going to listen to the appeal of the president. And it is quite unfortunate because today appears to be one of the finest moments that this regime, this administration, appears to have ever had in more recent times, to right their wrongs, but unfortunately, the president did not seize the ultimate, opportunity that this period presents to him. In the stead of articulating, the policies that will take us out of this, situation, the president unfortunately was pointing fingers, accusing fingers at the protesters, which is nothing but an unfortunate reality. Meaning that we are dealing with a presidency that really do not understand the social realities and conditions of our people. Because this, address, most of our people were looking forward to this address, but unfortunately, nothing concrete, nothing fundamental came out of this address. The address is as watery as anyone could have ever thought of. The address is insensitive, is obtuse to the demands of our people, to the question of how what you do with the question of the oil sector, what you're going to do with the question of the devalued state of Naira. What are you going to do about how much the entirety of our sectors have been deregulated? The president did not address any of these issues. Instead of this, he went as far as calling protesters, looters and what have you. When in actual fact, the actual issues, the issues that have brought us to this situation were not in any way addressed by the president, which is quite unfortunate.
Right. We'll definitely come back to that. But now I have to ask Comrade Razak about this question because it was one who led the protest start at Lausa on Thursday. And one of the things that we're saying was there will be no violence, and it was more of a rally rather than a protest to bring attention of the government to, the hunger in the land and what a lot of Nigerians are going through. So what do you think about the president's message this morning that was calling for an halt to this national protest?
Once again for having that's for the country that will disagree with the fact that the condition economically in this country it affects you may not know, but it's also affecting it as well. The demand by the protesters back to back to normalcy, the genuine demand. they feel the point being made by the protester may be lost if there's that guide the process, which has come to play. I led the protest. Sorry for a bit diversion, so that it's come to the reason why the president has to speak in that manner. Safety measure that it must have a lead and you must have a clear timetable so that miscreants will not discredit your protest. And in the same way too, the content of your demand, you are dealing with an institution that is been even before we were born, government. So when we're younger, we need that if we don't allow the people of us to guide us with their wisdom, we may not have a headway. Constantly, the president at his own time will be talking the way President Tinubu has spoken. But at their own time, which is what I want to encourage young people to try and do, is to do a lot of research about why do we have president of this country combated year in, year out, from Obasanjo till now. Some people are already saying that Buhari's time is better. It is wrong. And that is we think we should be to pinpoint what is the problem of Nigeria. For instance, we are talking about security. And we told the young men during the saga that, of course, you have the anarchy, you have the what it takes to be on the street. But the wisdom is that don't tell government to end NSACs. Tell the government to address the reason why the security architecture of this country cannot guarantee your security, which means there must be numerous layers of security. The state, the local. If that were to be our demand, we will be holding the government by the wrist. The same vein too, as you and I speak, I'm not in government. I'm not scared to say that the pain will be around with us for some time more, except we are able, be assertive, and understand what is really our problem. 70% of our oil is already been sold out when Buhari came in. So what we are to survive, what is the way out of it? Think what the government, which has always been what we have doing the whole time. What the government should do at the moment is to make sure that our reliance on oil is limited. How do we do that? Tell the government to give the governors a marching order. You say it's not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to think for the government. You must guide your government. Tell the government, the president, that part of our demand is that there is no state in this country that cannot be producing one crop or the other. What are the governors doing about it? Then on power sector, Buhari signed Tinubu as up. What is the government doing with the power sector? Nothing. So if you give a demand to the president to end a particular subject matter, and hunger, and bad governor, give the government the opportunity to give it back to you that, okay, no problem, you want to end hunger, we'll end hunger. You won't be specific. Until your demands are specific, until you create alternative that, okay, we know we are doing ABCD, but that's not the way. The current security architecture of this country cannot secure us. You must come out to say that. So, buying more guns for the police is not our solution. Recruiting more people in the police is not our solution. Our solution is actually a new layer of security architecture, which is the police. That should be part of our demand. Then on oil and gas sector, why do we have oil price increase all the time? It's because of the monopoly. Our capitalists in this country don't behave like capitalists. They behave like monopolists. Capitalists don't monopolize, they exploit. The oil in this country, make it as simple as ABCD, as simple as registering your CAC concordance. Why must it be Dangote alone? Let's start producing, refining their oil. Give license to young people like all my junior brothers on site with you today. Let them refine crude oil themselves. It's possible. You do it in that country of the world. But give the government the opportunity time of demand to say that why is the price of product going on? You are giving them an escape route. You must be specific. We know the reason why our oil is expensive. This is the reason, and this is the way out. The way out is always difficult for the government. But if you don't become assertive, they will never do it. And it appears as if we that bit older in the struggle are against you. We are not against you. We are just cautioning you that you are giving them the opportunity to be able to maneuver your demand. For instance, the protest edge, I hold up that I'm going to lead a protest at this assembly. I hold up. And I gave them identity. If you look at the police, they tied it. Immediately I led that protest in Lagos. I drove to Kwara for academic exercise. If you see all the police on the road, they were tying red bandana like I did. I knew it was. And I told the organizer to give your followers so that the people who want to infiltrate you will not be possible. Look at what happened in Kaduna. Look at what happened in Kano. And that was what we said we should guard against. The point you are making is stand two of my children, very soon, two of my children will be in the labor market too. I don't know where to come to get employment for them too. So I sympathize with the young men for not being for a job that is not available. I sympathize was marry the wisdom, survive your energy with some level of wisdom, which is that when you come out to speak, the government won't have option. They'll pick it up. But the president gave it back to you. You said hunger and insecurity, and he said, okay, I will hand hunger. That's why the demand, our own demand to the government is empty. The promise is also made to us will also be empty. If you are not specific, if you don't conduct research, National Bureau of Statistics says that 75% of Nigerians are seeking for unconventional means to survive through briberies, all sorts of means, begging. And when Labour demanded for 70% increase, we told Labour, he said, don't make this kind of demand again. Salary increase is not the first. The first thing is that the mechanism to prevent increase in price of commodities. Labour didn't do anything. And so we are against them. Now, in 6 months' time, that 70,000 will become nothing. So young men, my appeal to you is that you are dealing with an experienced institution. NSAS, police is the oldest institution in Nigeria, older than our parliament, older than our executive, older than the judiciary, older than the army. You want to deal with such institution, and you are not guided. When they say leadership, we are not plotting you to be arrested, but you'll be arrested. That's part of it. My left eye cannot see properly again. It's police batting. I have gun marks on my back. It's police. That's price for what you are doing. So don't let us say that prices for struggle should not be part of it. As you are talking now, you are being profiled. Either you are in Nigeria, you are in a part of you are being profiled. That's the price you have to pay for it. I'm not saying you like to call it, but you'll be picked up, you'll be arrested. That's the price. Prosperity will mention you in the history of Nigeria that you struggle for this country and you suffer for this country, just like this for democracy. So in summary, in going back to the drawing box now, let's be clear about our demand. Don't make empty demand again. To feast. The reason why our efforts are in shambles is that policy makers on education train their children abroad. Sponsor a protest that will say that anybody that has something to do with educational policy should not train their children abroad again. This card has been on there for a long time. ASU did not pick it up because it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult angle of the struggle. They don't want to do it. So, and that's why we distance ourselves from ASU, we distance ourselves from NLC because they are just taking advantage of the people. So for the young people, I sympathize with your struggle. Your struggles are legitimate. Your demands are legitimate. But as correct as your struggle is, you require a lot of wisdom to be able to have the government in the corner you want to have them. You don't have them in any corner now. They will say half of Nigerians will be divided and I say, you have spoken, so you want to speak. And I was supposed to speak to us. What we want to do is to announce that the ABCD on policy on dollar, which is currency of intervention, over alliance on what is it? So I need action, not speech from him. Now he has spoken now. Now, what will you ask him to do now? You say, okay, I agree with all the points you have made. Employment, okay, I'll give you employment. But what are the specific things? So, in moving forward, I spoke with many young men, but many people don't get my point until I became I expect for it to be more clearer and clearer and clearer. So I hope I've been clear about the point you'll be making about non-violent protests that I led on Friday. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. And now to Ibilade Kerefe, what was your own reaction to the president's speech this morning? And are the protests been at your side there?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Well, before the protest commenced, and even after the first day of the protest, I have persuaded the president. I have joined other well-meaning Nigerians to persuade Mr. President to address the nation. I believe strongly that in moments of crisis, the citizens want to hear their leaders speak, and such broadcast will go a long way to calm down frayed nerves, and of course also cool the temperature of the country and give direction to the country. And I was so excited when I heard from Mr. spokesperson Ngelari that the president will be addressing Nigerians this morning. So I stayed glued to my television. While I was waiting, I saw a speech of the president already circulating on the social media. And so I read it, and it was so provocative. And I was telling one of my friends who was by my side that I'm not sure that this is the address of Mr. President. But let us just give him the benefit of the doubt to hear his address. And unfortunately, you know, what we had read before was synonymous to the address that they read. And I must tell you that our address was unable to assuage the feelings and the plights of the Nigerian people. The president was only reading out figures and statistics, and which did not address the fundamental issues that the protesters were raising. And I don't want people to send this wrong impression that this protest is about Nigerian youth. No, it's about the Nigerian people. The protest is about the economic hardship that the country is currently going through as a result of the policy of the president on the first day of his assumption in office. The fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the dollar is what has caused the high rate of inflation in this country. And I have also said that, yes, everybody is in agreement that the fuel subsidy should be removed. But how can you remove a fuel subsidy when you have not put all the necessary modalities on ground that will cushion up the arch economic effect that will meet the Nigerian people after the removal of the subsidy? So that is exactly what the people are facing. Cost of living is so high, and the economy is excruciating. It's biting on the ordinary Nigerian people, you know. So Nigerians are concerned. You have removed fuel subsidy. Are the refineries in the country working? So you can see that even the government does not have the political will to ensure that the institutions in this country are working for the betterment of our people. The Minister for State Petroleum Resources has given us different timelines when these refineries will work, the Port Harcourt refineries will work, and of course, crude oil will be refined. By what we are told, 200,000 barrels of crude oil will be produced in the Port Harcourt refinery in daily basis. But up till this moment, as I speak with you, it is neither here nor there. You also saw how the federal government and the NNPC was playing with the Dangote refinery, playing politics with the Dangote refinery. So you can see that the government is not actually committed to addressing these economic woes that the Nigerian people are going through. And I was expecting the speech or the address of Mr. President to actually renew the hope of the Nigerian people so that they can quietly evacuate the streets without going ahead with it. But with the way he spoke, it appears that the we expected him to be more compassionate about the feelings of the people. But his aides and his appointees may have also given him a very wrong narrative about the protest. While I also condemn the violent incidents that happened in some parts of the northern states, you could see that in other places in this country, in other states in this country, the protest was relatively peaceful. People were just coming out to express themselves to the government, you know. And even when we say that protesters should come up with specifics, the government should not pretend not to know that things are not going on well. I've said that the president should rejig his economic team. His economic team is not working. We're expecting him on this address to say that he's downsizing his cabinet. If you are urging Nigerians to make sacrifices and continue to bear with the situation, you should lead by example. The ministries and the agencies and departments of government are too much. Our economy, our budget alone, the recurrent expenditure is more than the capital expenditure. And under this kind of circumstance, how do you expect the monies that is coming into the country to trickle down to the Nigerian people, to be used for infrastructure development and what have you? So I am saying that the speech was not inspiring enough. I was expecting the president to speak like a statesman and empathize with the Nigerian people who have come outside to peacefully express themselves, and also give a marching order to the security agencies not to provoke harmless and defenseless peaceful protesters. Protest is a legitimate right of the people. The president of this country is a champion of protestations. He has protested during his Nadeko days, fought the military to ensure that democracy is entrenched in this country. Today is a beneficiary of democracy. The president also protested against former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan when he was in charge of this country because of fuel subsidy removal. Nigerians compelled the president with a national protest, and President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan reversed that policy. We equally saw the Christopher Kolade committee that was managing the resources that was accrued from the oil subsidy removal then. We saw the Shopee program, and we saw that money was invested into programs that was helping the Nigerian people. But in this occasion, where are the monies that is accrued as a result of this fuel subsidy removal? So it is only the elite. These policies are only benefiting the elite. The politicians are not the average Nigerian. It is quite sad and appalling that a country that is producing crude oil does not have working refinery to refine our crude oil.
Can we say a few things?
You know that the Nigerian economy is dependent on oil, and we get this oil through foreign exchange. But if the refineries in these countries were working, there is no way we will be purchasing crude oil through foreign exchange. And we are also told that the federal government is still paying fuel subsidy as we speak till this moment.
Can we say
if you have kept the oil in the hands of market forces, everybody can go in and determine what it will sell, to the Nigerian people. That's what is happening. So I am still calling on the president to, as a matter of urgency, ensure that the refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery comes on stream so that they can start producing crude oil.
Okay, all right.
The Dangote refinery, it does not need to make a lot of noise before federal government will give him attention. We want to begin to see that the Dangote refinery has started producing oil.
Okay, all
That
right.
is the
So
only
now I'm
way.
going to be addressing my guest here in the studio because you mentioned that the president was pointing fingers at the protesters, but we do know for sure that violence did happen in some states. There are some videos that were emerging online that we saw people destroying traffic lights in the name of the protest. And then the president did say that the organizers of the protest are assured that the protest is not going to be violent. So do you not think that with these things that we have seen, looting of fellow Nigerians that are also suffering, like the people that are protesting, do you not feel like that enough is called that the president wants a halt to this protest?
Well, I think that it should be condemned. You know, those acts indeed should be condemned. But I'm also someone that is most fascinated by the idea of we looking at the causes, the root causes of an issue, not simply. I think more often than not, we play the role of paying much attention to the symptoms and not the root causes of whatever situation that we have to clear or whatever circumstance that confronts us, and which is quite unfortunate. I think that in spite of our condemnation of these acts, we must return to the statement of Martin Luther King, for instance, where he said that riot is the language of the unheard. Riot is the language of the unheard. More often than not, we talk about a state of absolute, absolute a state of powerfulness. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But the point also remains that a state of absolute powerlessness also corrupts, absolutely. A state of absolute powerlessness also corrupts absolutely. Most of our people have been, dehumanized, really. And when you dehumanize people, what do you expect of them? I mean, these are realities that confront us. No matter, and let me say this, in the northern part of the country, aside from the protests, in the northern part of the country, most of our people in some of these states, have had long-lasting issues with members of their ruling class. So it's not just like in Kano, it's beyond just the question of the protest. In fact, the so-called bomb, indeed the bomb blasts, as we found out, wasn't something related to the protest in any way. It wasn't an event, directly related to the protest. We all know this, so that for us to understand that there is indeed, growing tension, consistently growing tension in the northern part of the country, because most of our people in that particular, in this particular state have been reduced to nothing. Like I said earlier on, they are the major dormitory. When you look at the number of members of the ruling class that we have in this society, they occupy, an interesting, big, massive class, a massive category of this class. So when you live under this kind of condition, when you dehumanize human beings, you cannot but expect such reactions, in spite of how ugly it could be. And let me quickly say this, that I really don't think that it is quite progressive enough for anyone to try as much as possible to emasculate the activities and the struggles of ASU. As far as we are concerned, ASU remains a consistent ideological, organized labor movement that we have to, give necessary solidarity to. Not beyond the fact, not because there are any tendencies of some lapses or what have you, but the tradition, has shown that ASU have remained consistent over the decades on the struggle for the rebirth of a well affordable and adequate public education for the mass of our people. I really do not think it is rather progressive to think that ASU would, of course, the banner of the fact that members of the ruling class in this country shouldn't have their wars abroad. That slogan is very, very germane. But it is also true that if you want to keep fire, you remove, the sticks at first. And at this particular point in time, across our universities, the public universities, for instance, the living conditions of our lecturers aren't good. Aren't good. How do you explain the fact that our professors aren't really earning what they deserve? The pays of lecturers aren't taking them home anymore. These are material issues that confront us at the immediate. And I think that if ASU is calling, or if ASU is centering, the title of our struggle on the pay of as comrades, I mean, our members at this point, and there shouldn't be anyone trying as much as possible and to distract. The struggle right now is about how, you know, the government has got to be forced into ensuring that the pay of, you know, lecturers are being increased, and also adequate infrastructures are being taken down to the universities.
Okay, thank you for that. You know, you mentioned something that we should always look at the root causes of problems, and we have this factor of always treating the symptom rather than what is causing the problem.